Hey everyone, on today's Veggie Prep Basics video, I'm going to show you how to cut onions. So I know these can be a little bit intimidating, but I think it's really helpful to know how to cut them because they add so much flavor and great nutrition to all of our meals. So follow along and learn some onion cutting skills. Okay, so to start with our onion, we first want to locate where the top is and where the bottom is. And this is pretty easy because the bottom is always going to be this flat part that has some roots coming out of it. Now, there's a lot of different ways to cut onions, and they're all dependent on how you want to eat it and how you want to cook it. I'm going to show you some of the most common and useful ways to do it. So to start, what you want to do is take a sharp knife and then cut your onion in the middle from the top through the bottom. Okay, now we have our two onion halves. I'm just going to work with one at a time here. So we want to remove this papery skin because we can't really eat this part. So you can just peel that off. All right, now we have our onion peeled, and I'm also going to cut off the top end here, which is a little bit papery itself. So you can just slice that right off. So probably the most simple way to cut your onion is just to do little thin strips. So we can either go across the onion like this and cut them, and they're going to be kind of like half moons, right? Or we can cut them the other way into strips. So I have it where the bottom end is facing away from me, and I'm just going to cut towards that bottom end. Okay? And these are a little bit straighter in their structure. So either of these shapes would be great for something like stir fries, sautés, soups, braising meats, lots of stuff like that. You can cut these as thick or as thin as you want. It's just going to depend on how you want to eat them and how you want the final dish to be. But I would say these are probably just a little bit too big for something like a salad just because they're such a big bite of onion. You probably want to cut it a little bit smaller, and that could look something like this. So we're cutting really thinly into the onion. And see how my fingers are kind of in this claw formation right here? Like I'm tucking my fingertips back, protecting them from the knife, but still holding onto the onion. So try to practice that, especially when you are cutting onions. Another thing I want to point out is that it's going to be a lot easier to cut onions and pretty much any vegetable when it has a flat side down on the cutting board. If I were to try to cut this, putting this round side down, we can see that it's really going to be moving around and going to be hard for me to really cut into. So try to put a flat side down and it's going to make it a lot easier to cut. Okay, now I have the other half of the onion all peeled. I'm going to cut off the top part. So the next thing I'm going to show you is awesome if you want to dice onions. And this is probably the fastest, most accurate way to do it. So we're going to start with, of course, the cut side down flat on the cutting board. I'm going to take my knife sideways and we're going to run it along the bottom of the onion like this. And I'm going to cut it about 1/4 of an inch thick. So let me do that first one to show you. So I'm going to run my knife sideways, put my hand on top of the onion with my palm on the top and fingers kind of up and away, and just like that. And I'm running all the way back almost until the bottom end there. So this is what that looks like if you can see. So just cut right there, and I'm going to go ahead and do that about 2 or 3 more times. So you want to cut the onion almost all the way through. Make sure you're not cutting completely through because if you do, it's not going to hold together and then it's going to make it really hard to do this dice. So just keep that in mind. So now I have all the cuts going through that way. I'm going to turn the onion so the bottom is facing away from me. And now I'm going to cut towards that bottom with the same thing in mind. I'm making thin cuts that are evenly spaced apart and they don't go all the way through the onion. Okay, now we're going to turn it back so the bottom is facing your non-dominant hand, and I'm going to use my pinky and my thumb to hold the sides of the onions together and then put my fingers in a little claw on top, and now we're ready to go back across and really make that nice dice. So just like that, you can see by doing a couple little cuts ahead of time, we have this really great evenly sized dice. So this is an awesome little trick if you want to try it. And this type of onion is great for so many things. Like we keep saying, tons of different types of sautés or stir fries, soups. Because it's smaller, this could be good to add to like a vegetable salad or a protein salad like tuna salad or something like that. So tons of uses with this cut right here.